Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 44 of Fresh Off the Pod. This is your co-host, Will Cho speaking. I'm without my other host today, but I've got two awesome people in studio, and we've got an hour. I was talking to these guys before the show, and I'm going to tell you right now, you want to be tuned in the whole hour because this is going to be an amazing show. But before I introduce them to you guys, I want to ask you guys, I hope you guys are doing well. There's a lot of stuff going on in this world. There was another shooting in Oregon, very sad news, but I hope you guys are doing your best. You guys are spreading the love and doing everything you can for other people. That's what we're about. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of people that I have just recently gotten to know, and I got to actually meet them face to face today, maybe a few minutes before our show today. But I just want to tell you, these are people with passion, with a purpose, and they're doing things that other Asian Americans have not done before. So without further ado, I want to introduce them to you. Now, sitting to my right, we got in touch online through Facebook, through I guess a mutual friend of ours. Yeah. And she was just telling me about some of the things you do. Could you please tell us your name?
My name is Oscar Siang.
Okay, and how does an Asian have a name Oscar? How did that happen?
I have no idea, actually. I was born in Switzerland, and
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, both my parents were Chinese, and I have no idea why they named me Oscar. My brother's name is even weirder than mine. His name is Yannick.
Yannick?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've never been to Switzerland, but Yannick sounds almost European, I guess. I don't know.
It is.
Oscar is more of a... is Oscar a European name?
Not at all. I mean, it's usually a Hispanic name.
Right,
so exactly. I have no idea how I got the name Oscar from my parents.
And so you just said your parents are Chinese. Uh-huh. Now, so you spelt your last name S-E-U-N-G.
Correct.
So when I first talked to you, I thought you were Korean. Yeah. Right, so you're like a Mexican, Korean type
Chinese.
I'm this going on.
I'm basically the United Nations in one person.
That's awesome. We need more of that. Actually, I'm clean shaven. Well, I'm not, I guess you can't really say I'm clean shaven, but I shaved off all my facial hair not too long ago. When I have facial hair, people think I'm Mexican.
Really?
Mexicans think I'm Mexican.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went to a gas station, true story, and they started speaking to me in Spanish. And I didn't understand, so they started speaking louder in Spanish.
Oh my God.
And I was like, no habla español, yo coreano. And they looked at me for about 5 seconds and said, no. I'm like, I think I know who I am. You don't need to tell me if I'm Mexican or not.
That's hilarious.
So, Oscar, how long have you been in the area?
Well, my family and I immigrated to America in 1993.
Okay.
And I grew up in Arlington, Texas. So we've been here a good while.
So Switzerland to Arlington, how did that happen?
Well, my dad had family here, and so we decided my parents wanted to move to America to give my brother and I a better shot, so they uprooted their entire lives, gave up everything they know to move to America, specifically Arlington, Texas.
Right.
I remember walking out of the airport as a kid, and in Switzerland, the province I grew up in, we spoke French, not German. And I walked in, I immediately walked outside, summer heat, Arlington, said, non, c'est pas possible. I'm being told, like, we're going back. Au revoir. I just wanted to go back to Switzerland. It was hot.
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said, but that was cool.
This isn't possible. I'm done. We're going home. I can't do this.
Oscar, you speak like 4 or 5 languages?
6.
6 languages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
6 languages. So you are the United Nations.
I am, basically, yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, you guys just heard the other voice of the other guest in studio. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. My name's Andrew Yoon.
All right, Andrew, and how long have you been in America?
In America, I've been in the States for about 24 years.
Okay.
I was in Korea until I was 2, and then moved to Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama.
Wow.
So from 2 years old till 4th grade in elementary school, I was in Alabama, grew up there. My dad went to graduate school there.
Okay.
And then in 4th grade, I moved to Ohio. Big demographic change.
Wow.
Socioeconomic rating just kind of changed. It was like a culture clash, not just being Asian in America, but also
Alabama and
Ohio. Very big difference. And so I was in Ohio until I graduated college. Mm-hmm. then I moved to Texas.
So you guys have been pretty much everywhere. Like I was born in LA and then I moved to Dallas. So just big city, around Koreans all the time. So not a lot of changes. I'm jealous of you guys.
No.
All right, so our listeners are they know your name, they know where you live, but they have no idea why you guys are in studio. So Oscar, why don't you tell our listeners why you're here?
Well, I'm the executive producer of American Dynasty, the series. And what we are fighting to become the first Asian American family drama on television. Everything is set and ready to go. Our cast is ready. The script is locked. Our production team is ready to go. And we shoot October 25th, and we're shooting the pilot all throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Wow. Okay, so American Dynasty. How did you come up with that name?
Actually, one of our writers did.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we played around with a couple of different titles. One of them was Happy Family. One of them was, what was it? Model Minority, even.
Okay.
Based off what Ronald Reagan said about Asian Americans. We wanted to do a play off that. But ultimately, we stuck with American Dynasty. Because dynasty is a Chinese term. And, there have been dynasties, if you will, quotes, in America, but fundamentally that is ours.
It is more of an Asian philosophy.
Correct.
Sure, right.
So we're gonna take it back.
Okay, so Andrew, how are you involved in American Dynasty?
Sure. I'm one of the actors.
Okay.
In the drama, I play a character named Jacob Han. I'm the youngest of the four siblings. Oscar is the oldest member of the family, siblings-wise. So to me, American Dynasty is kind of like a relatively quick response to Fresh Off the Boat.
Correct. Okay.
I mean, right now, that's the first Asian American family TV show that's existed in American media since Margaret Cho. That's like 2-3 generations ago.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously, for Asian Americans, Fresh Off the Boat is a great thing. It starts that representation back up. But we're trying to take the aspect of second generation. Right?
Correct.
Fresh Off the Boat is really first generation. It's the often told story of how the Asians immigrated. It's the immigration story. It's the culture clashes. It's Asian way of thinking versus an American Western way of thinking.
Right.
Which many Americans are already kind of familiar with. Right. When they think of Asians, that's what they think of. Right. American Dynasty is supposed to be an updated telling of what happened after that first generation of immigrants.
Correct.
Okay.
What happens when you have an entire generation that grew up in America with those culture clashes, but they are American.
Yeah.
So this is in a way a story that's never really been told.
Correct. We really are the answer to Fresh Off the Boat. This is a family that has reached the American dream in every way, shape, and form. The question that we pose in the show is, at what cost? How did they get to where they were? What were some of the sacrifices they've had to make to get to where they were in life? And we see the characters, and we see they've had to give up their language. They had to get rid of their accents. They had to learn English. They had to give up cultural identity in order to achieve, mainstream success in America.
Now, is this something that you guys have personally dealt with, and have you applied some of that into this, into American Dynasty?
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn the language when I moved here. I spoke French and Cantonese, and I had to learn English very, very quickly to avoid, being bullied in school.
Right. Well, Andrew, you said you lived in Alabama and Ohio.
Sure.
I mean, being an Asian American in those two different parts of the country, it's almost like a different world.
Very different, very different. Yeah, I grew up. I think Oscar probably had more challenges in terms of the linguistic side. Right. He had European languages on top of Chinese, on top of American English.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine growing up that way. It must have been difficult. But I think you have a skill with languages. So
He's very nice.
I mean, knowing 6 languages, you said?
Yeah.
Not everyone can do that. Right?
No, I mean, I can barely speak 2.
Oh, stop.
Some people would eventually just implode and not speak any languages.
Yeah,
correctly.
that's.
Right?
I think that's what I would do. So, American Dynasty, for those who's never heard of it, Where can they go find out more about American Dynasty?
We have a fabulous website that we've built called AmericanDynastySeries.com.
Okay.
And right now we're in the process of throwing a fundraiser to help us produce the pilot, to shoot the pilot. So the link is actually on our website as well. And on the website you can find, we have a teaser trailer on the website. There's a synopsis for the show. You can meet the cast, you can meet the crew, the creative team. All the information is on there.
So how many people are involved in American Dynasty?
I'm really proud of the fact that we have truly a multicultural creative team.
Okay.
You know, we have Egyptians, we have Korean Americans, Chinese Americans, Filipina, people from Hong Kong and China and Taiwan.
Wow.
We're very, very proud of the fact that our writers, all our producers, the cast, we're all very multicultural. So we have about 6 writers on staff.
Wow.
Our head writer is in LA, Michael Tobias. And the cast is rather big. Our cast is about, 9, 10 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you guys get together? How did this start?
Well, I started an organization called the Asian Arts Collective.
Okay.
And what I did was I gathered actors, dancers, directors, producers of Asian American descent, and we had a conversation about their journeys and what were some of the obstacles they've had to face to get to where they were. And out of the conversation, one thing was very, very clear. If doors aren't opening for you because of the color of your skin and the way you look, you have to make your own door and kick it down. And it's out of that philosophy that American Dynasty was born. I started having conversations with different actors in the area, and this idea came about. I met with Michael. He agreed to write the pilot. It took a year and a half, almost 2 years of development. And now we're at the point where we're ready to go.
So this is kind of like your baby.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely.
So, Andrew, how did you get involved with American Dynasty?
Yeah, I got a creepy, strange message from Oscar on Facebook.
I am going to kill you.
I'm just kidding. I was actually traveling in Asia earlier this year for a couple months.
Okay.
I was backpacking. I had been in the acting industry for about a year and a half now. And so I was interested in what's going on in the Dallas community, and I'd been looking and involving myself. But while I was in Asia, I received this message from Oscar about this pilot episode that, idea-wise, it was something that I had hoped for and envisioned since I was a kid, but never really had the experience or the resources and whatnot, the situation to really have that come to fruition. But Oscar messaged me, and as soon as I got back to the States, I read the script. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I'd seen kind of, what they had worked on so far. The more I saw, the more I believed in it. And so now it's, fast forward, I'm going to say like 3-4 months, and the script is locked. We've shot our trailer. The cast is set. Everything is ready. We're fundraising, and within a month, we're gonna be shooting this. We're gonna have an actual full episode. So we're all very excited.
Yeah.
How did you guys get to meet each other?
I literally looked through agencies everywhere, and I was looking for Asian American actors, and that's how I found the cast. Actually, I knew Olivia. She plays Rachel Hahn, the middle sister. I knew her personally because we did theater together.
Okay.
But every other cast member, I had to look through agencies and find these actors myself.
Okay.
And I came across Andrew's headshot and resume, and he looked the part, and I knew that he could act, and I approached him, and luckily he said yes.
So when you sent that creepy Facebook message,
Very creepy.
you guys didn't know each other?
No.
Wow.
That was just joking. It was very polite.
So it was just random. You
Yeah.
got a random
Yeah.
message. That was really cool.
I'm a very proactive person. When I want something, I'm not afraid to reach out and start cold calling people to get the job done.
Honestly, I respected it. I was like, I don't know how you
Right.
found me. I don't know you, but
Yeah.
we have our headshots posted on Kim Dawson's agency.
Yeah.
And so he saw that, and I admired that hard work and just being upfront.
Yeah.
And we're in a situation right now where Asian Americans need to stick together, especially
yeah.
when you're in an industry related to
Right.
entertainment. So
I think, whenever you have someone starting something that's never been done before, you need someone that's proactive.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
You need someone who can think outside the box.
Yeah.
Because I think opportunities have been there for a lot of people. They just never take it.
Correct.
Right. So let's do this. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to actually get to know a little bit more about these two and find out how many more creepy messages Oscar has sent. We'll be right back. All right. So, Andrew, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
How did you get into acting?
So it's
I mean, because I'm just going to be honest, most Asians, when our parents came to America, they came so that we can become doctors, lawyers, and,
Sure,
all these things. How did you get into acting?
Well, so for me, I have always had an interest in entertainment. So since I was a kid, I've been an avid musician. I had the dream of becoming, a pop star when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I was always interested in film. I always wanted to have opportunities to try and act. But as you can probably assume, growing up in Alabama and then Ohio, those industries are basically non-existent in those states. So it wasn't a practical reality for me at a young age to even try.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea, what to try and do in my city, right? So it was always kind of pushed to the wayside. The purpose of my parents coming, their immigration story is also one that constantly gives the kids pressure to study, to become the doctor, to become a lawyer. So I studied English in school. I was a creative writer. I was studying for law school. I worked for a software company. So I was kind of going in a similar way to what you could expect. Tried music as a hobby. But once I moved to Dallas, before I moved, I didn't even realize that there was a big acting industry here. But once I got here, I remember going on Kim Dawson, or looking up agencies in Dallas, right? And the first one that popped up was Kim Dawson Agency. When I first moved here, within the first month, I researched it, and I remember thinking, man, it would be nice if I could get signed at an agency like this. I have no idea what we need to do, because I hadn't done any research. But about a year later, a year to 2 years later, through some crazy connection, my sister's roommate's mother was the director of talent acquisition at Kim Dawson Agency. For like many years. She's retired now, but I was practicing for performance, and my sister's roommate saw it. She took a video and just sent it to her mother, and her mother was like, "We have to get you an interview." And I was like, "Oh wow, thank you so much! What a crazy opportunity!" I didn't think much of it though. Yeah, honestly, I was like, "It's just an interview. Like, what is that gonna do?"
Yeah,
I was frazzled that day. I was kind of late. I get there, I'm sweating. We're just talking. I feel like the interview hasn't even started. 10-minute talk. And then 10 minutes later, she just says, "Okay, when do you want to sign? Let's get paperwork taken care of."
Oh, wow.
What? So it was an opportunity that I felt I was very blessed with. Ever since then, I've been, really pursuing it as much as I can. I love the work. I've only been in the industry for about a year and a half, 2 years now. But again, the opportunities that American Dynasty brings, it's just amazing. It's just so many great things.
I mean, talk about, you were looking up the agency,
right,
and all of a sudden there's someone that's connected to the agency. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. I totally, at the time I felt like, what?
Yeah.
This is the specific one agency that I remember noticing.
Right.
So yeah, I felt some, little help from.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about you, Oscar? How did you get into acting?
I took a very atypical route to becoming an actor. I am a classically trained musician, violin and piano, and then in college, I was studying to be an opera singer, actually. So I have my bachelor's in music and vocal performance from TCU.
Wow.
And I graduated in 2009. And discovered my voice wasn't quite big enough for opera after I graduated. Dang it. And so I took a year off and I did nonprofit management.
Okay.
And I took a year off, did that. And, my friends kept saying, are you happy? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And they were like, yeah, exactly. You're fine, but you're not happy. What do you want to do? One day I just blurted out, I miss performing. I want to be an actor. I think I can do it. And, I did. I quit my job. I started my own business, and that gave me flexibility to pursue it. I started doing community theater. Within 6 months, I lucked out and got a big equity contract and joined the union as a stage actor.
Wow.
Got an agent. She saw me in a performance and said, "You want to sign?" I said, "Of course." And I've been really fortunate with my agent that I've gotten a couple of national commercials, a couple of films, and yeah, I've been really, really lucky.
That's awesome. So, I feel like I'm cool because I'm sitting next to celebrities now.
Oh, stop.
But
Hardly.
yeah. How did you guys practice? Like, how did you, when I think of actors, they go to school and they learn how to act and all these things. Did you guys have to go through that?
Had to go through it, still going through
Okay.
it. We'll continue to go through it. I think. I think one of the crafts of an artist, actors not excluded. You learn your basics, you learn your material, you practice, but it's one of those one of those skills that kind of rusts if you don't continue practicing, continue updating.
Okay.
Right? I mean, it's manipulation of your emotions for a specific situation. So, yeah, we've done that. We're still doing it. I mean, I'm reading a book right now on acting techniques. Other than that, just a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Practice.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm also lucky in this regard that opera really translated well to theater, to stage work, and then stage work translated really well to film. It's about recalibrating the energy of the performance to fit the medium. So I think I had a pretty good foundation. I didn't go to drama school, I went to music school, but the experiences that I've gained through being on stage really served me well for
That's great.
for all the acting gigs that I've done so far.
Yeah, I don't have any specific stage training, but I would say in terms of the education background that I have and how it helps, being a creative writer, that was my background, right? English, it forces you to really think on behalf of the character that you're developing. Not just, Sally went to the store, but if there's that one sentence said, the writer is imagining, how is Sally feeling at this time? What did Sally just go through? Who did Sally just
gotcha.
talk to? And so when she says XYZ, when she's at the store, this is what she really means.
Oh, man,
Right.
that's deep.
That's acting right
That's
there.
acting.
That's
Yeah.
literally acting. You
That's
nailed
acting.
it.
So it's not just going to the store. It's everything that's involved,
Yeah.
like what she's going through. What is she thinking?
Right.
Why
Right.
is she at the store in the first place?
Right. So when I read a script and I'm reading, I kind of, think in that process, and it
Wow.
helps to break down the character better.
Man, I'm going to be honest. When it came to acting, I thought it was just like you just have it or you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you show up and either you're a good actor
Yeah.
or you're not. Like that's what I thought it was.
I think that there is a little bit of
There's some,
there's some to that.
definitely talent based,
Yeah.
but I mean,
I think
it's
you
a
have
craft.
to be a little bit, I think, a little bit insane to be an actor because you're not just like about exhibitionism, but like what we do is really kind of like an extreme form of that. We're not just sometimes we do have to bare our bodies, but we have to really bare our souls as well in front of like a
Sure.
giant audience. So you have
Yeah.
to be a little crazy to to get up there and be able to do that.
There's no way I could ever be an actor. I'm not very good at lying. You know what I mean? So I don't think I could, if I'm supposed to be sad and, the Rangers just clinched the playoff,
Yeah.
spot yesterday, there's no way I could possibly act sad.
Oh, really?
Maybe that's why I'm not a very good musician either. Music, you guys have a musician background, but
Yeah.
honestly, I love music too. But music is the same thing. You can't just play the notes. You got to put the emotion behind the
Absolutely.
notes. And that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
makes you a good musician. And I think maybe the music background has maybe helped you guys
Oh, definitely.
a little bit, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So let me ask you one last question before we take another break. What has the journey been like? Have you guys had a lot of support from family, friends, or has it really just been you against the world? What has it been like, Oscar?
Well, as soon as I told my parents I was going to be an actor, obviously they were very concerned because my degree is in music and they spent all this money in lessons and I was going to be a professional musician, and then I was like, surprised I'm an actor. But as soon as they saw me perform in a performance of, I did a production of Thoroughly Modern Millie and I played Trevor Graydon, and they saw the performance and they were like, okay, you can do this. You're funny and you look great on stage and I think you can actually do this. So once they saw me do what I do, they were relieved. But in terms of, me versus the world, that there is an element of that because, again, just because of the way I look and the color of my skin, yeah, there are obstacles and there are difficulties and there's definitely discriminations, in the industry. But I mean, with the show, that's what we're trying to combat.
Okay, what about you, Andrew?
So for me, given the background that I grew up in, Alabama and then Ohio, very large black demographics and then white demographics, I always grew up, I remember thinking, when is there going to be a time when I feel like Asians are being represented in media? As I grew older, that thought became more complete. When I was a kid, it was just more like, why aren't there Asians on TV? Or like, why is every Asian a nerd? It's just kind of simple thoughts. But those thoughts continued to develop, and I really wanted some accurate representation. So for me, it started with that. I really hoped for some type of change in American media, some type of better, accurate representation. So,
would you say that Ohio and Alabama maybe has shaped you into who you are today?
Absolutely. Anyone who says that my past, has no effect on who I am today, it's hard to believe.
Sure.
Right? Being in those specific demographics, I think there was exaggerated bullying, all the difficulties that minorities can grow up with.
Sure.
But in the long term, I think I've benefited from it. I've learned a lot of different things, and there's a lot of different types of people that I can get along with now. Right. So I think that contributes to acting as well.
Yeah. Well, we've got really, really awesome conversation going, and I want to keep talking, but we do have to take a break. But when we come back, Oscar and Andrew, you guys have kind of touched up on it. We're going to talk about a little bit about Asians in entertainment and maybe what some of the struggles are. Well, we'll be right back after this. All right, we're back with Oscar and Andrew. The only two celebrities I know in my life.
Oh my God!
But man, we've been having an amazing just discussions and talk. And one of the things we ended with in the last segment was you guys talking about some of the things you have dealt with in the entertainment industry, I guess. Now, Oscar, you said you started an organization, right, with bringing in Asian actors and entertainers. Now, tell me, how has that been in starting that? And again, remind us why you started it, how you started it, and the people that are involved in it.
Yeah. Well, the reason I started it was because when I made the decision to become an actor, I literally emailed almost every theater in DFW and asked, do you practice colorblind casting? Because I was nervous and I didn't want to go in if there was no shot that I was, rejection, all that stuff. I was very insecure. And I went in for an audition and I emailed the theater and asked, do you practice colorblind or non-traditional casting? And their response was, word for word, this is America. Of course we practice colorblind casting.
Wow.
So I went in, I submitted I wanted to audition for this role. I went in to the audition. I was not allowed to read for the role.
So they told you?
They told me they practiced it because the role was white. I wasn't allowed to read.
Gotcha.
I didn't even get to, at one point I got angry enough that I signed up to audition for this role. I prepared this role. I have all the lines memorized. Why am I reading for every role but that one that I didn't prepare for? Can I please have a chance to read for this specific role? I don't want to say the name because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But eventually, I raised my hand and said, let me do this. And she said, literally, fine.
Oh, wow.
I read one time and then I was dismissed.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So from those experiences, I obviously got angry and got a chip on my shoulder, and I wanted to hear other stories and see how we can engage in a collaborative dialogue with the leadership in arts organizations and how we can represent the population that is America at large better. It isn't just white people in this country. There are other ethnicities here, believe it or not.
Right.
And so we have to start a conversation about that. art has to reflect life. And right now, it's not reflecting anything but, Highland Park in Dallas.
Unfortunately, that seems to be reality these days. Andrew, being an Asian American and being in the acting industry, you said it's only been a year and a half, couple of years. Have you dealt with a lot of, and I want to be very careful when I word this, and I don't want to say racism, but have you dealt with being an Asian American? Have you had moments where you're very discouraged because you feel like you were Asian American?
So, being completely honest, in recent years, I haven't dealt with an experience as drastic as Oscar. That's very blatant. That's very upfront, right? It's no effort to hide it.
Yeah, right.
So, while we're talking about this, I would say in the last year and a half to 2 years, I have definitely felt marginalization. Okay. Not really, strictly in this industry, but really just being an Asian American, right? We deal with that all through our lives, and it's no different in this industry. I haven't had anything that serious in my last 2 years, but I would say that I constantly do see that there are reduced roles. Sure. Right. We don't really have any opportunity to be the lead or the main character. At best, we're a side character. We're a side role, right?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think? Some people, honestly, if those who aren't in the industry, because I feel for you guys. You guys are trying to chase after your dreams, and you guys are trying to make it. But you're just saying roles are limited. Sure. Right.
Well, I think if we were to answer that big picture, media is a huge weapon for propaganda. And, the U.S. is not in a state of war, and so propaganda, that word is a little strong. But American media, American culture has been shaped through generations of TV, film, movies, or music, right? Many young people, young generations listen, watch, and they don't know how it's impacting their psyche, and then they unknowingly kind of reflect that to the rest of the world. So, I don't think that's any different in the acting industry, in the film industry. America is led by white America, right? Well, we can all agree on that, right? There have been other ethnic minority groups that have, succeeded in establishing themselves into the culture, and they're able to be successful in their respective careers, right? There's doctors and lawyers now that are very dominantly Asian. There's a high percentage of that, right?
But even within that, we talked about this before. Even within that, the corporate world or medical or whatever, even lawyers, there is still a ceiling for Asian Americans. There's been studies on this where it shows that even though we are more than capable of leading, we're more than capable at our jobs, we can only rise so high before we're cut off.
There is a threshold.
We cannot cross into leadership positions for some reason. And I've read these research, and people have outright said, well, Asian American managers aren't aggressive enough. Well, the problem is that when we are aggressive, I'm very aggressive, we are immediately dismissed because you're too aggressive. Well, okay, but if I were white, would you say I was too aggressive?
And there's the other side of that coin. Maybe you think that I'm not aggressive because Asian American males are portrayed in that specific light for so many generations, when the reality is there are plenty of aggressive, testosterone-driven Asian men, both in America and
abroad.
Right? There's a very specific culture of male gusto in several different Asian cultures, but Americans never see it that way, right? There's a very specific subculture that we're kind of labeled and marginalized, and so maybe that's why you don't think I'm aggressive or more of a traditional male role.
Well, I mean, like you said, it's media. We have only been portrayed as caricatures or archetypes. There hasn't really been a three-dimensional Asian American character in film and media and TV for a very, very long time. Just now we're starting to see, some diversity on TV, and it's wonderful to watch.
Sure,
but
absolutely.
up until then, all the American audience has seen of Asian American men, even women, are very specific caricatures. So how can they be expected to see us in any other light if all they've seen of us is this, the IT guy, the nerd,
or the ninja, right?
or the ninja,
These huge
exactly.
dichotomies.
We're all
right?
Jackie Chan, basically.
Right. So if you're a tough
Right.
Asian, then
Right.
you must know kung fu
Correct.
or taekwondo.
Correct.
But if you grew up here and you're not one of those mystical Asians, then you're probably really good with your calculator. You're very
Right.
proficient on Excel.
Sure.
Right.
Mystical Asians.
That's a great name for a future show.
Yes.
I'm helping you out here. So let me ask you then, what do you think it'll take maybe for this to change? Because I know right now there are Asian Americans that are listening, and there are I'm sure a ton of them that are interested in acting, but maybe they've just been discouraged because they feel like, well, it's going to be impossible for me. Now,
Correct.
What can you tell them, or what do you think needs to change so that those that are listening can say, oh, you know what, these guys are blazing the trail for me and there is hope?
I mean, what I tell my students is, literally, if I can do it, truly anybody can do it. Because, you can't see me, but I am Chinese. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And my face, according to, commercials and stuff like that, is not the most marketable because I look so Chinese. I'm not ethnically ambiguous in any way, shape, or form. So I tell my students, do the work, prepare, train, learn as much as you can, practice, and really put in the work. And if you love it, just do it. You will find a way. And if doors aren't opening, I say it over and over to everybody I meet, to young actors that I meet. If doors aren't opening, you have to make your own door. You have to make your own luck, make your own opportunities. Just get up, and you have to believe you have a specific story to tell. Otherwise, you're not going to be an actor.
Yeah.
Right. We've all been there. Every Asian American, whether you have an interest in entertainment or not,
Sure.
we've all shared, similar emotions, right? One encouraging thing, though, that Asian Americans can look forward to in the horizon is the internet, right? It's obviously been around for a long time. It's taken some time for the effect to actually, take hold. But now there is an entire millions of people in this generation of Asian Americans who have grown up second or third generation. They're all proficient on computers.
Yeah.
They all individually have a voice now.
Yeah.
Right? So because of what the power that the internet has, those voices are getting out. Casting directors, people who are involved in the film industry are reading those things. They're in statistics. They're in polls, right? They see that and they go, okay, there's money here, right? That's I think probably the most encouraging thing that Asians can probably see. There is money in our market now, and Hollywood is seeing that. They do want to capitalize on it because it's a business, right? So then now you're starting to see in commercials there's more of an Asian face.
Yeah.
Right? There's Asian families. There's more diversity in roles. Right?
If I go shopping, you'll see photos of Asian babies.
Absolutely.
And they know Asians love to shop. That's money right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's happening. Is
Yeah.
it happening as quickly as we would like it? Not necessarily, but it is. The ball is rolling in the right direction. So for younger people, younger generations who want to but are afraid to, how am I going to do it? Be encouraged. Is it easy? No, not at all. There's still a lot of things getting in the way.
Yeah.
But I would say relatively, the best time now in the last 5 years for Asian American actors than it has been in the last 50.
Oh yeah, now is a really wonderful time for any ethnic actor.
Yeah.
If you look at network TV, but Viola Davis, Kerry Washington, all these incredible shows that feature an African American woman, that's never been seen before. That's the lead.
Right.
That's not like some background. She is the lead character. It's so inspiring to see that. I mean, but what Andrew was talking about earlier, it is a little bit sad that the industry is changing not because of a change of hearts, but because money.
Sure.
For the first time, executives are seeing that there is money here, that we are marketable. And, with the rise of China and them being one of the superpowers of the world, Hollywood is taking note, and they want their films to be screened there. They want Chinese audiences to buy those tickets. And so they know that if we can put one Asian guy or one Asian woman in there,
sure,
it'll sell in China.
Yeah.
So yeah, things are getting better, but they're getting better for, the wrong reasons.
I mean, look at G.I. Joe. You got a Korean actor and, they go over to Korea.
Exactly.
They make millions of money.
Right.
Exactly.
Korea, we talked about China a little bit. Korea too, right? I mean, China has been a huge, power country in the world for hundreds and hundreds of years. Korea hasn't.
Sure.
South Korea is literally the size of Ohio.
Yeah.
And in 50, 60 years, that country's economy has turned from ash to the top 15 economies in the world.
And if you look at the IMF, really, we're looking at 20, 25 years that Korea has really risen to where it is at today.
Right.
And they've become, their quality of film has gotten up.
Drastically,
it's
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very competitive now. You have countries in Europe, you have countries in Asia, all watching K-dramas, K-pop.
That's
right?
insane.
It's become a phenomenon, and so I think it's to the point now where Hollywood, which is the stereotypical number one in entertainment, right? Hollywood is recognizing there's no way to ignore this any longer. There's significant money, there's capital, there's talent, and there's interest.
Sure.
There's a demand for it. Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the encouraging things that we can look forward to as actors in this industry.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot of work to be done.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's really our main message.
All right. Well, I hate to keep breaking you guys off in a really good conversation. We're going to take our last break, and we're going to come back, and we're actually going to continue what we're talking about. We'll be right back. All right. So we've been talking about Asian Americans in the entertainment industry, and you guys have been encouraging the younger ones. Now, I want to ask you, Oscar, especially as someone who's very proactive in trying to make this happen. If there is, let's say, a 15, 16-year-old and says, you know what, I want to act. And I want to do that for a living, and I want to follow my dreams. Now, listening to Oscar and Andrew, I know there are challenges, and I'm willing to work hard for it. How can I get started? Where can I go to make sure that I take my first steps in chasing my dreams?
The most important thing I've discovered is to believe it or not, don't look at the big picture. You want to be an actor, don't look at the entire grand scale of what the journey will be. Take one baby step. What's the first thing I need to do as an actor? Get headshots. If you can't afford headshots, that's okay. I've been there. Get in front of the camera. Find a way to get a picture taken, a headshot. Put together a resume. You have nothing on your resume? That's fine. Put something on there. Put your special skills on there. Done. Show up to auditions. Take baby steps, one step at a time, and start building. Because what happened with me is I focused on the big picture and I was, psyching myself out. But eventually I discovered if you take one step at a time, eventually you look back and you just think, holy cow, how did I get here? Because I was there. I went from not having a headshot to looking back a year later, and I was in 2 national commercials.
That's insane.
But to start it, you have to take that baby step, take that leap of faith, and just do one thing at a time. And while you're taking that journey, educate yourself as much as possible. If you can, stay in school. If you can't do that, get books. Get on YouTube. Uta Hagen has an amazing masterclass. Sanford Meisner, epic masterclass on YouTube. Everything is on YouTube.
Stanislavski has
Oh
good
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. So read as much as you can about the technique and the art and the craft of acting, and then do it. Again, if you can't book any roles or whatever, make your own. Write your own character.
That's what this
Set
guy
up a
did.
camera. Lift up your laptop. Push record and start doing it over and over and over. You have to actually physically engage in acting to get better. and to push yourself forward?
I think. What did you say? Leap of faith. I think that's a good expression because it felt like that way for me. You know, I think it feels that way probably for everyone when you're trying when you're even thinking about entering an industry where, you know, everyone will say, "Oh, it's extremely risky. Like you have to couch surf in LA forever. You're not going to get a lot of roles. You're going to be hungry. You're starving artist, all that." In addition to the fact that if you're Asian American, it's even harder. So the more you think about it, big picture, it might not make sense.
Sure.
But to get the headshots, to do the first preliminary things, it will feel like a leap of faith, but you'll be surprised at where it gets you. Right?
No, leap of faith. I really love that word because, you know, my life is pretty much has been a leap of faith. When we started this radio too, it was a leap of faith. And one of the things that, you know, I think the three of us as people that have maybe gone a little bit before them, one thing we can tell all of our listeners is you are going to face failures, but it's okay.
Sure.
Because you've got to be able to overcome those failures. And if you are able to overcome those failures, you're going to be able to overcome so many things in your life. Right?
I mean, you learn the most from failures. And I tell all my students the same thing. And young actors, I tell the same thing. You know, we have a tendency to try to avoid embarrassment. As an actor, when you're in that audition room, commercial, film, whatever it is, I want you to rush to embarrassment. It's when you make the mistake and you embarrass yourself, that's where the real moments happen. And that's where you can work with that to turn it around and turn it into an actual genuine moment in that audition room. So I tell everybody, rush to embarrassment. If you're not uncomfortable in life, something is off. If you're not feeling challenged, if there's no risk of failure, something is off. Because you're not moving forward anymore. You're just standing still.
Yeah. You know, we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to make sure that we do talk about this before we end the show today. With what you guys are doing and what's ahead of you. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of failures. There's successes waiting for you. There's all this going on. But in doing that, what is one of the things that you never let go of? What is that one thing you hold on to that drives you?
In acting specifically?
In chasing after your dreams, really.
Oh.
You know, because for me, in doing this, one of the reasons I do this, and we kind of talked this before the show too, is I don't just do this for me, you know, because honestly, in starting this, I've probably lost more time or lost more things than I've gained. But one of the things I look forward to is knowing that after me, there will be people that will be able to do you know, and what I've done.
Benefit.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. So that's a great point. So for me, since I was a kid, growing up where I did grow up, I wanted more accurate representation, and then two, because I constantly felt like, okay, this caricature of an Asian, I'm not a nerd, I'm not overly effeminate, or I'm not unathletic, or I'm not particularly like a math genius or any of these things.
But if you are those things, it's totally fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's wonderful to do those
absolutely,
things.
Absolutely.
No negative thing about that.
Nothing wrong about, you know, the stereotyped caricature of Asians. They exist just like anybody else. But for those who aren't that, it can be particularly frustrating. So me growing up that way, I always one, wanted, when is the representation going to happen? And two, I'd like to be a part of that representation, right? Because I've always had an interest in entertainment. That's always something that I wanted. So that's really what drives me today. I'm 26 years old, and I started in the acting industry, like, you know, in my mid-20s. Yeah. Right? I'm going to be 27 soon. And really what drove me most was, one, this is what I want to do, right? I'm at the point where if I don't try and pursue my dreams now, when is it going to happen? And then two, what are we going to do to get Asian people represented more? Yeah. When you have Asian parents who immigrated and you have that typical story of, we went through all these hardships, we brought you here, we went to school, you know, barely got food on the table to give you these opportunities. Right. So that you can have better opportunities in stable careers. Yeah. Right. Everyone knows this. We've experienced all that. It's almost to a stereotype at this point. The big picture point that isn't established though, Sure, in the stable professions like lawyers or doctors or anything that's related to getting food on the table and providing for yourself, those are great avenues, right? But what isn't talked about is the fact that the arts, which is more superfluous than a doctor.
Sure.
Right? It's not as needed.
Sure.
Right? But why have the arts existed for as long as humanity?
Yeah.
Right? It's because once you have the established things that you need to put food on the table or to keep a civilization living proficiently, then humanity gets bored, and then they think, what's the next thing that I can do to really boost my culture up more and make it more sophisticated?
I mean, I think it's more than that. I feel like, I mean, growing up in the arts, I feel like the arts is really a beacon for humanity, and here's why. Every time we open the news, all we see is destruction and people destroying instead of creating. The arts is a flip side. The art is a reminder that we are capable of more than just being rude to each other and killing each other. We can create. We can actually do something beautiful and create something beautiful through the arts. That's what, I mean, that's where I always come from.
Exactly. It eventually gets to that point. When you look at it from a simple perspective, the arts could be superfluous or unnecessary. It's not directly needed for life, but it can do so much more in advancing a culture's life, you know, equality, all the things that media does. That's really what art was originally designed for. So for people who are discouraged, or especially Asian Americans who are wanting to delve into entertainment in general a little bit more, be encouraged. You know, is it easy? No, it's hard, but it's getting better. And the opportunities are becoming available, and it's all about what you do, how much effort you put in. If you want to do it, it can happen.
Yeah, you know, you've got one life, and we're all born, and I believe this wholeheartedly. We're all born with giftings and talents, and, you know, some people are just naturally good at certain things. You're born with that for a reason.
Sure.
And, you know, I think sometimes doctors are jealous of actors because, you know, and sometimes actors might be jealous of doctors.
Sure.
But in chasing entertainment, you know, right now, listen, we're not driving Bentleys and living in mansions. But what we do is, the reason why we do this is because for those people that are doctors and lawyers, they need a stress reliever, and we're there to entertain them, and we're there to encourage them, saying, you know, it might be tough being a doctor or lawyer, but let us bring you laughter. Let us, you know, maybe help you shed a tear, and that's what we do.
Absolutely.
And then when we need their help, then we go to them.
Correct.
Right? And what we do is we work together in creating a community where we support one another, and I think that's what's beautiful about what you guys are doing, is that you guys are, you know, the pioneers, and you guys are doing something that hasn't been done before. And people can look up to you guys one day and say, you know what, they did it, so I can do it. And that's what you guys are doing. So, and I personally want to thank you guys for doing that as Asian Americans. Guys, tell us one more time where they can find you online.
American Dynasty. We're at www.americandynastyseries.com. We're on Facebook, American Dynasty Series, Instagram, American Dynasty Series, and Twitter, AM Dynasty Series.
Okay, and they need a lot of support, so please go check them out.
Indiegogo, that's where our fundraiser is.
Indiegogo. Okay. Well, thank you, Oscar and Andrew, for being on today's show. This was amazing, and I've got to have you guys back on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, and don't forget to send me a creepy Facebook message.
I will. I can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us for episode 44. Until next week, keep it fresh off the pod.